Good evening, kindred and kind. Welcome back from a very long break. Uh, Now with hopefully better audio equipment, better sound, and better knowledge just to make sure that these playthroughs are going well for you all. Uh, with some more good news on just Bloodlines 2 coming out on the 21st of October. I'm extremely excited. I can't wait till then. But for right now, just to hopefully get myself into a good rhythm for Bloodlines 2. I'm going to be continuing Parliament of Knives and start and hopefully finish before Bloodlines 2 comes out, Night Road as well. I will be doing just the singular playthrough for both, as doing more would just take me past the deadline that I'm setting for myself. And alongside that, I'll most likely have a video coming out soon just with some of the information that they've come out with and just talking about everything from the DLC as well as just what I've seen in the trailers and just trying to keep any outlet that has played any portion of the game away. So that way I can go into the game with a fresh set of eyes, happy and just ready to enjoy the game from where I have a very unbiased baseline. And well, without further ado, we're going to continue back where we were, where we had just taken a mercenary's hand and messed up what Jordan had done for us. You navigate the crumbled walls and beams, exhaling a sigh of relief when you finally exit the factory. Key and Luca are arguing over a kneeling prisoner who's badly wounded and bound tightly. Behind them, you see Bouchard and others. Many are singed or limping, but none seem to have met the final death. Key gives you an appraising look. It looks like you're tougher than I thought, Silas. Ward hit you like a damn truck. It's good to see you too, Sheriff. Key pushes the prisoner to get him moving. The Pharaoh looks none too pleased, but follows his instructions, for now. We need to go, the sheriff says, his calm cracking under pressure as he looks about furtively. Eden can only keep the police waiting for so long. If we get caught, we'll be wishing that maniac could finish us off in the warehouse. Your exhausted party picks themselves up and limps towards the bridge leading back into Ottawa. Your pace speeding up as sirens blare from the north over the border into Gatineau. Bouchard nearly topples over as he lurches into a run, and two of his mercenaries lean down to help him up. Luca looks over her shoulder, face painted with worry. Corliss doesn't have the reach that the prince did across the river, she says as you arrive at the edge of the construction site. If Arundel was beckoned, we have a lot of slack to pick up. It's a good thing Corliss brought me back here when she did. She edges into a full run as the police sirens glow closer. It's too early to make assumptions, you grunt, your foot almost catching on a metal support bar as you cross the bridge at a run. We already have enough trouble with the Anarchs. Rarely is the weight of power more keenly felt than when, in the event of its sudden absence. The bedrock of Ottawa's Camarilla society had been patiently chipped away by 100 knives, each skillfully wielded by those kindred who day-spawned dreams bloomed ripe with a hunger for ascension, eternally waiting just out of reach. But they could wait. Undeath, after all, conferred a distinct advantage over the fleeting ambitions of humanity. And now it seemed their long nights of plotting were about to pay off. 4 nights ago, Ottawa's prince had simply disappeared, abandoning engagements which he had always routinely met with extreme punctuality. What was first seen as an unusual political slight became a concern on the second night of missed appearances, and by the third and fourth, unrest within the community was all but inevitable. As the prince's seneschal, your sire, Eden Corliss, now faces the full weight of responsibility, and powerful kindred have already expressed doubts about her ability to handle the pressure, even before Arendel's vanishing act. Of course, if she manages to impress them, she may rise to the office of prince herself. Despite what some might think, the title has always been gender neutral. Quick dash to safety. It's nearly dawn when you arrive back in your haven, exhausted from the night's events. You throw open the carved wooden doors, pleased to find Gerard waiting for you attentively, his face creased with worry. He's dressed as befits his station, a well-tailored suit, not quite ostentatious enough as to feel completely out of place on the average Ottawa street, but sufficiently genteel if he were required to attend a larger kindred court. Your clothes are in tatters, he states dryly. Did your evening not go as planned? When you don't immediately respond, he continues. Fortunately, I've recently acquired a new vessel for you. He's waiting in the guest room should you have need of him. Whereas many kindred of your standing employ more than one retainer to do their bidding, you've been fortunate enough that with Gerard's skill set that the idea of acquiring a second servant rarely enters your mind. As with many personal attendants, Gerard is a ghoul, a mortal who has been granted a taste of your blood in exchange for unnatural strength and abilities. These powers come at the price of much of their free will. Ghouls become addicted to their master or mistress's blood, and withdrawal systems can be quite cruel. So why only have one when they make such devoted servants? Each ghoul requires maintenance, a regular feeding of your own precious vitae, to maintain their agelessness and enhanced strength, and you have little wish to be so burdened with the additional upkeep where one superior servant will do nicely. Universally adapted to your needs, your ghoul also excels in one area in particular. Gerard was once a soldier for a major crime syndicate. He may be a servant now, but he still has contacts in the underworld I can make use of. He was once a financial assistant for one of my sire's companies. His skills bring additional cash flow and problem solving. He was a butler for one of the wealthiest families north of the US border. His attention to detail is almost uncanny. I will end up going with the financial assistant because it makes much more sense to have the sire give him a possible ghoul from her own possibilities. Gerard was a financial prodigy from an early age. Poached by one of Corliss's firms directly out of university several years ago, he chose an unfortunate night for an unauthorized overtime and witnessed the grisly murder of an Anarch agent. Spotted by Arundel, he was given a choice between death and eternal life as your ghoul, spared only due to his extraordinary skill. Far from being horrified, Gerard had enthusiastically assented to ageless servitude. He'd taken to the bond with unusual ease and has been a loyal servant ever since. You discard your clothes, and Gerard collects them gingerly, his nose wrinkling at the state of their disrepair. These won't be much use of you anymore, he says. I'll see about replacing them. That would be good, Gerard. Thank you. If I may be so bold, sir, Gerard asks with an unusual degree of trepidation in his voice. Has Prince Arundel resurfaced yet? I've heard rumors among the servants. They believe he's left the city. Kindred affairs are not the domain of mortals, Gerard. No matter how elevated, you should remember this at all times. We don't know yet, I admit. I'll be speaking with Corliss tomorrow once I've had time to rest. I believe all is well. Gerard, I say with uncertainty. Arundel doesn't always explain his whereabouts to the court, nor is he required to. In the meantime, Corliss has everything under control. The servant should know better than to ask such questions. I offer him a withering gaze and no words at all. Remind him of what got him where he is. He's still a mortal. Of course, George says, having the dignity to at least look chagrined. I apologize for overstepping, sir. He nods curtly. Will that be all for today? Just about, you say, your weariness enveloping you as the outside world grows closer to dawn. I'll be in I'll be needed at Corliss's offices tomorrow and I may be gone for most of the night. I have a job for you in the meantime. I'd like you to research the construction site at Chaudière Crossing. Let me know if any known criminals have ties to it. There was an explosion by the Chaudray Bridge tonight. I need you to gather any information about what the police found there. Find out if any Find out if there have been any recent sales of large quantities of explosives in the last week, most likely in the underground economy. He still has the ability to, but if anything financial, let's see if any kindreds have ties to Chaudière Crossing. Of course, sir. I'll get right away on it and hopefully have something helpful by the time you're done with your sire tomorrow night. Gerard finally leaves you in peace and you make your way to your bedchamber. Eager to put the disastrous night behind you, it surprises you how easily you fell back into the pattern of violence from your fledgling days. But now that you have time to reflect, your entire body shudders and you feel weak in the knees. Unlife in the upper crust of Ottawa's Camarilla society is rarely dull and is filled with a very real danger. But those are attacks of a political nature and fall in a battle of wits rarely leads to violence and a bloody end. Although it's certainly known to happen, tonight you faced the final death on more than one occasion, and the resulting flood of memories from your mortal life brought back a heavy weight of long repressed guilt. Fear of dying is a persistent instinct in both mortals and vampires alike. Even decades after your first death, you're surprised to still feel the faux spike of adrenaline and the gnawing fear of the grave. Agelessness, as you'd quickly learned upon your embrace, can be stripped violently away, much the same as it is granted. Left to their own devices, a vampire's unlife could extend indefinitely, but the undead eventually desire purpose. True to the spirit of your damned nature, this desire manifests in the form of deadly politics, activism, or violence. For years now, the latter of these has been the furthest thing from your thought. But thanks to Corliss's prompting and Robert Ward's strangely personal attack, you're once again reminded that you are an inherently violent creature, and the thought both repulses and intrigues you, although not in equal measures. Barbaric attacks are the desperate means of creatures beneath me. I prefer to deal in intelligent negotiation to get what I want. I am pleased to be reminded of what I truly am. Unlike more subtle tactics, violence can put an end to my problems permanently. It's not the nature of my own feelings that matter at the moment. What's important is for me to understand why Corliss wanted me there so I can leverage it if I ever needed to. And the means to an end are irrelevant as long as the outcome benefits Camarilla society and quashes anarch activity within the city. I believe the best decent answer for what I am looking for is it's not the nature of my own feelings that matter at the moment. What's important is to understand why Corliss sent them there. You approach your bedchamber with relief, all other details flying from your burdened mind as you focus on renewing your strength by sleeping the day away. I sleep on a plush mattress in a lavish bedroom, the bed itself hemmed in by luxurious blackout curtains. I sleep in a tasteful coffin. It may be cliche, but for some reason it makes you feel more in tune with my state of undeath. I sleep in a regular everyday bed. It helps to ground me and keep me humble. We are of the upper echelon. Let's keep it that way. What good is an ageless unlife if you can't lead it in style? You close the curtains and sink into the mattress with a deep sigh, gazing up at the canopy as you settle into sleep. An image floats before you of the mortal you attacked tonight in rage of your hunger. In your blood-starved mind, you'd been certain that there was someone from your past before the embrace. A lover, perhaps? Although you can no longer recall the particulars, what you can remember is the intense feeling of wrongness you'd felt, like there was a secret locked within your mind, nagging from behind a wall of repressed memory. You close your eyes and images flood back in quick flashes before solidifying into a scene you'd visited often, but never remembered in your waking hours. A lost memory, stolen from your cold and long dead mind. But it's resurfacing more frequently now, as if something had shaken it loose to rattle around in your head like a specter. You'd been chosen by your sire because your mortal abilities fit with her ideals for the Ventrue clan. The dead have no need for mortal memories, but without some anchor to your past, will your humanity be gone forever? The vision is vivid, as it always is, and for the fleeting seconds, you're confused as to why you're so surprised. You've always been here. This is who you are. In life, before you were chosen by Corliss to join Clan Ventrue, you were a wildly successful venture capitalist. Negotiation and business dealings always came naturally to you. The black sheep of a wealthy family, I rejected a lavish high lifestyle. I was born in favor of a life of high adventure. An international weapons dealer. I'm going to put just a wildly successful venture capitalist, mainly because what I've chosen previously will fit this a lot better than any of the other ones for what I've chosen already. So let's just keep going. You remember now. You remember everything. Your life, your death, your embrace. No, that's not right at all. The scent of blood, oblivion flooding over your senses like a cool wave, and an entirely unfamiliar set of eyes staring back as the gift of undeath takes you. Dead eyes glazing over as they watch you rise. The disturbing image of your past is replaced by a more comforting one. Your sire hovering over you as she brought you back from the brink. You remember the smile on her blood-smeared face, light from above casting a radiant halo around her head. In that singular moment, she was the most beautiful thing you had ever seen. And you knew with unerring certainty that each night of your continued agelessness was a gift she had seen fit to bestow upon you. And that is the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2. Misgivings. This inhospitable land of ice and snow ill suits me. My waking hours are plagued by chill reception in climate as well as the demeanor of my Camarilla hosts. Prince Arundel risked much by opening his city to me, and until such night as the terror of Urshulgi releases his grip on precious Almut, I shall remain indebted to the Ottawa Ventrue for their grudging hospitality. The rise of the Black Shepherd has resulted in unsettling new alliances I would have once believed unthinkable. The Chief Salik, the Banu Hakim Vizier. The grinning face of Robert Ward stares up at you, all blocky and alabaster teeth filed in perfect rows like tombstones. There's an anger behind those dead eyes, but it's largely subverted by a mirthful quirk of his lips. His shirt is unbuttoned, crossed arms laced with sinewy muscle. For the second time in many nights, this man has caused you no small amount of difficulty. Although, were you given the option, you'd doubtless repeat today's misfortune over the events of the previous night. You massage your temples with your thumb and forefinger as you place the Anarch's Renegade files back on your desktop. When mortals prattle on about their vampire myths, they rarely suggest that the undead too might be afflicted with such trite concerns as stress headaches and a sinking stupor of boredom. From the moment you greeted her in the early hours of the night, your sire had been beside herself with irritation and botched warehouse raid. It wasn't so much the dressing down that disturbed you, however. It's the fact that she apologized to you in the aftermath. Eden Corliss never apologizes to anyone, let alone a child who disappointed her. Before she hid herself in her office, she handed you several file folders and instructed you to review their contents. Still recovering from your disbelief, you missed her instructions entirely, and she had to repeat them with a snarl. No further apologies were forthcoming. Your desk sits to the left of a massive set of double doors leading into Corliss's private office. Walls of striped marble rising on either side to an impressive peak. Voices above a hushed whisper have tendency to echo throughout the chamber at dizzying frequencies, which unnerve you as much as now as they did when you first set foot here. Your naive eyes wide as they took in the opulent splendor. On a typical visit to Corliss's office, your sire requires little of you aside from the occasional clerical duties she couldn't entrust to her buzzing hive of worker bees. You've often wondered if the dreary tasks were merely her way of asserting dominance over the younger generation. But you have to admit to yourself that the constant stream of reports on Ottawa's kindred community have been useful to keep an eye on. In modern nights, knowledge can be a deadly weapon. You thumb through the reports, there must be at least one on every important member of Ottawa's kindred community. Primers on these important kindred are now available in your stat screen. Sweet. Parliament of Knives now features storyteller mode that may be toggled on to display which disciplines or attributes are tested in certain choices later in the game. Please select whether or not you would like to enable the mode. No, I'm fine. I'd rather figure it out myself by reading and taking the dive, because getting it told to you doesn't really help you figure out what discipline is what. And then if you change your mind in the future, storyteller mode can be switched on in the stats menu. You lean back in your chair, grateful for the quiet that the nighttime provides you. You imagine the building during the day swarming with hundreds of mortals all going about their agendas. Then you look down at the files again and drum your fingers along the edge of the desk. Maybe the constant buzz of businessmen and women would be preferable after all. You stare up at the ceiling, unsure whether or not it's safe to leave and go about your night, or if Corliss expects you to remain here until she tells you otherwise. Since the Camarilla ordered an online communications blackout, your nights here have become more dreadfully dull. Of course, after watching footage of the Second Inquisition's attack on Vienna, you understand why such precautions are warranted. Once the mortal inquisitors find a kindred domain, they stop at nothing until every last vampire is wiped out. Your mind drifts back to the hunt, how you might have dealt with the Anarch infestation if you were in charge. The Bruja and Gangrel clans were officially part of the Camarilla not all that long ago. Immediate violence may not have been the best idea. I would have sent a team to convince them to leave peacefully. The more I think about it, the more I believe we should have brought an overwhelming force and slaughtered every last Anarch. I think Corliss's plan was the right one, even if it didn't go perfectly. We forced the Anarchs to retreat and none of us died. There was no need to finish them all, just send a forceful message. We should have worked out a better strategy. It would have been easy to manipulate the police into performing a raid. The Anarchs' mortal allies would have fled, and even the Anarchs would think twice before starting a war with local law enforcement. We should have been far smarter and quieter. A small strike team might have been able to sneak in and destroy Ward without ever alerting the mercenaries if we had proper intelligence. So, I believe the plan was not a bad one. The plan is not a bad one. You're not trying to have a war, you're trying to ensure peace, as much peace as you can. So the message was good, and it managed to force the Anarchs back, which is good. You're shaken from your thoughts as the entry door slams open, revealing one of the city's more recent arrivals, a vampire of the Banu Hakim clan. Takes you a moment to remember his name, and by that point, he's already torn his way through the room in a storm of scowls and swirling robes. Greetings, Mr. Selik. You say solemnly, doing your best to reset the room to a sense of proper decorum. What can I do for you? I must speak with Seneschal Corliss, the vizier replies, wringing his tightly clasped hands. He smells musty like old books, and his short black hair is unkempt. You imagine he hasn't groomed himself in several nights. Corliss wouldn't want me to let him in, so I should stall. Was this regarding, I ask? I don't believe you have an appointment. This could be interesting. I show the Banu Hakim Vizier in without giving him a hassle. It seems he must have something important to tell my sire, but I shouldn't let him in without asking why he's here. I will stall. Vizier wrings his hands before schooling himself to a modicum of calm. I must speak with her regarding the absence of our prince, he says reluctantly once he realizes you're not going to simply let him in without a proper reason. His lack of oversight seems to have emboldened certain factions which Arundel had forced into submission. You have to admit that does sound serious. Perhaps you should check with your sire and see whether or not you should admit him. Please wait for a moment while I announce you to the Seneschal, you reply, as I'm sure you understand given the recent events, she's quite busy. He waves you on into a poor attempt to calm dismissal, and you slip through the double doors into Corliss's office. She looks up at you from the desk, spilling paperwork and reports. Yes, child? The recent arrival from the Banu Hakim is here, demanding to speak with you. Should I tell him to leave? Chief Salik is requesting an audience. It sounds like he has something very important to report. Mr. Salik of the Banu Hakim blustered in here with no appointment and demanded to see you. I thought I should check with you before throwing him out. If he knows something about other factions, let's get that in and out. Corliss quirks an eyebrow. Does it now? A great many things are of import at the moment, child, least of which concerns of the Banu Hakim. She sighs, but I was expecting him to show up with demands. You're right to detain him, but it's best that I deal with the man now rather than leaving him to stew. Send him in. You step aside as the vizier practically marches into the office before dropping into an elaborate bow. It's lovely to see you, Eden, he says as he stands up straight, flashing a nervous smile at the Seneschal. You can tell he's attempting to be charming, and it's obvious that Corliss is having none of it. Welcome to my office, Kashif Salik, she says bluntly, all business. You've caught me in an inopportune time, so I must request we skip the formalities and cut to the chase. What can I do for you? Apologies, Kashif mutters as his eyes sweep the room, looking for a chair. There is none. To the point, Ben, he says, with a flash of mild irritation. Last night, my servant handed me a sealed letter which he had claimed had been given to him by a rather unusual carrier. Furtive fellow, eyes like a ferret. The vizier procures a neatly folded paper from one of his robes, voluminous pockets, and clutches it at his side. The letter claimed to be from an anonymous Tremere outside the city, and it went into a great deal about how they intended to torture and eventually end me. In most cases, this wouldn't have been entirely unusual given the enmity between the Tremere and the Banu Hakim, but I've been placed under Prince Arendel's protection. Corliss rolls her eyes. And you believe that the prince's favor afforded you the privilege of peace of mind. Have you any idea, Vizier, how many death threats I receive on a weekly basis? The chief shakes his head. Enough that I no longer read them. My servants simply burn them and make note of the purported author in a ledger. The chief seems taken aback, but that doesn't stop him from continuing. When I confronted Lang about his clan member's insult, you did what? Corliss's eyes burned with anger. He insisted that my allegation was absurd and went on to suggest that I had fabricated the letter in the first place. And what did you expect? Corliss hisses, reasserting control over the room. After the prince offered you protection, most Tremere left Ottawa in protest. Is it too much for your fragile ego to know that a single one remains? Does Lang's continued presence so stick in your craw, Vizier? When did your once proud clan grow so fearful and petty? I care little for petty squabbles between opposing factions of sorcerers and agree with my sire that we'd be best served by staying out of this bickering. I admire the power of Tremere sorcerers and their long history with the Camarilla. I quietly supported them in opposition of the prince's public decorations, and the Banu Hakim viziers have need of the Camarilla support after fleeing their homeland. I agree with the prince that they have potential to be powerful allies. The prince saw something before being whatever he was. Corliss doesn't really see the point, but he is acting like a child. So I will stick this as a petty squabble, and I'm just not going to sit in the middle of it. Why position oneself in a place of weakness between dueling factions of sorcerers and warlocks when you can simply step back and watch them keep each other in check? Assamites, assassins, or the Banu Hakim as they're properly called in the West, have a long sordid history with the Tremere dating back centuries to 1496, when the Tremere afflicted them with a blood curse to prevent them from feeding off kindred blood, their precious vitae. The Banu Hakim had never forgiven them, and the mutual enmity has run hot ever since. The curse has been lifted for over 20 years now, but it seems some individuals refuse to leave the past in the past. The chief seems to be taken aback by Corliss's bluntness, and his right arm twitches involuntarily, hand twisting into an arcing claw. Corliss raises an eyebrow, and the vizier slowly relaxes his posture. I am neither fearful nor petty, Seneschal, the chief replies dryly. I merely petition the court on my own behalf. I was accepted into the city by its prince under the tradition of hospitality, after which the Tremere voluntarily left the domain in protest. If they now make external threats against kindred within the city, is that not an affront against the prince's domain, the tradition themselves? I back up Corliss. Be that as it may, we have yet to see any proof that these threats are even from the Tremere. How could we possibly hold them in contempt of the traditions without proof? I back up Kashif. These are disturbing allegations. Perhaps we shouldn't be so hasty to dismiss them. You back up Kashif, but in a way that helps Corliss save face. We wouldn't want such rumors to run rampant while Prince Arundel is not receiving petitioners. Perhaps an investigation for the court's peace of mind. And I'm too wary to take sides at the moment. Remaining quiet won't curry any favor, but it also won't stir up any undue anger against me. So, the biggest thing is, you may say you got this letter and it could be from a Tremere. If you're not able to fully back it up, there's no point in me backing you up. My sentiments exactly, Corliss says, flashing you an approving smile. Why would the Tremere play their hand so openly? Far more likely, another is manipulating you against them, using knowledge of your clan's sordid histories. The chief nodded sagely. It is indeed a possibility, but one which should be investigated. Between this boldness and the growing presence of the Anarchs, I fear that the rumors being passed around Elysia may be true. Corliss arches an eyebrow, hands on her hips. That the prince has been called by the beckoning? The chief continues undeterred. Off to the Middle East, by all accounts, the condition is pandemic. Elders from all corners of the globe unnaturally have pulled to the Holy Lands to fight in the Gehenna War. Word is our beloved prince is the latest to be called. Wild speculation, Corliss says with a sniff, but she says it too quickly. Both you and Kashif can sense that the circulation of such a rumor has interests her greatly. None saw Arundel leaving the city. Other elders in different cities have disappeared without a trace as well. Kashif continues, pushing his luck. The beckoning strikes at random, drawing the elder blood home. Perhaps one night it will see us all drawn to battle. Pray that such a night does not come soon. I've heard about many such cases, and I openly agree with Kashif that these rumors should be taken seriously. baseless rumors and speculation, I say, leave the rumors in the whispers of Elysium. They must not be trafficked here. It would be wise not to cast doubt on the power and presence of your prince, Kashif, especially after he extended his hand to you and offered sanctuary. I remain quiet and listen. I'm more interested in learning than making alliances at the moment. I said something first. I'm not going to say anything now. There's no reason to agree with him because it's just rumor. So nothing really comes from talking about it. And then trying to pressure him with the prince statement doesn't really help either, and it causes just more. It could cause more friction. So we stay quiet. All are aware of the beckoning, Kashif says. Speaking of our prince being called is not the cast aspersions. Only the most powerful feel its pull. Such a rumor honors him. Corliss sighs in an attempt to feign boredom. Enough. I've heard your petition, Vizier. I will open an investigation into Legend Termir threats. Does that satisfy you? Kashif nods and drops into a formal bow. My thanks, I am grateful, Seneschal, he says before righting himself and spinning on his heels to face the exit, his multicolored robe swirling. He closes the doors softly behind him, leaving you alone with your sire. Corliss waits for several seconds until she's certain Kashif has left the adjoining room. These rumors concern me, Silas. Have you grown weary of your paperwork? You can't help an involuntary nod. The task is dreadfully dull. Very well, she says. We must begin an investigation into the rumors of Arendel's disappearance. If he was truly beckoned, it'd be best to learn everything we can before the accusations begin. Accusations? Of course, child. Don't be naive. In the event of powerful kindred's mysterious disappearance, blame and suspicion are always certain to follow. In this particular case, I am Ottawa's second in command. If the prince cannot be found, I will assume control of the domain until such time as he returns. The office of Seneschal is not one to take lightly. Arundel handpicked me for the position against the will of the court, and such slights are rarely forgotten. I expect many of those same self-serving licks will work against me in the coming nights. They may have begun spinning their schemes already. You nod in understanding. I must ask, Corliss continues, have you personally heard rumors about the prince's disappearance? From whom? You've actually heard several mentions of such a rumor, most recently from Corliss's older child, Luca, and your retainer Gerard. Telling Corliss this may ingratiate her to you, but you doubt Luca or Gerard will be appreciated with your loose tongue. Luca mentioned it to me after the raid, though it sounded like more quiet concern than spreading a seditious rumor. Lie. Luca couldn't stop talking about it during the raid. It was like she wanted everyone to know. My ghoul Gerard said that there were rumors among the servants that Arundel has left the city. I haven't heard anyone sharing rumors about the prince, or Sheriff Key was talking to the others during the raid. It was like he wanted everyone to know. So, I would honestly say if my ghoul reports to me, my ghoul is mine. My ghoul is mine, so therefore it doesn't matter if he doesn't care about me saying anything. That is my ghoul. Interesting, Corliss says. Too many kindred forget their servants have eyes and ears of their own. As you've seen, they speak to each other and spread rumors the same as you or I. Do not worry, your ghoul's life does not fall under my purview, but I'd be careful what I say around him if I were you. Thank you for informing me, Silas. Your honesty is greatly appreciated. She looks over a sheet of paper on her desk for a few silent seconds before returning to her attention to you. 2 missions, 2 chowder. As my eldest is currently absent, you may choose, and the remaining assignment will go to Luca. She holds up her index finger. First, if the prince meant to leave the city in secret, it's likely he would take in the sewers. He's far too recognizable. Many blue bloods would never consider such a thing, but Arundel never held himself above the Nosferatu. I need you or Luca to visit the primogen Bouchard in his lair. Question him gently about any unusual activity he may have learned about in his domain. Corliss holds up another finger. Second, I need one of you to speak to one of our elder Ventru at her estate. Vivian Mayer was the last of us to meet with Arundel according to the prince's personal agenda. Anything she can tell us about that night could be vital to discovering the prince's location. I'll question the Nosferatu. I'll hold the polite meeting. I'll meet with the Nosferatu in the sewers, but I'm not Corliss's lapdog. I'll use the information I find as I see fit. An important meeting with a venture primogen. That sounds like an opportunity to make a profitable alliance. I'll visit Vivian in her estate. So, the information itself, I will most likely be okay following. I'm not going to sow any seeds. I'm going to follow the good boy act. Let's get Bouchard, because we were working with Bouchard. So let us work with Bouchard. You set off immediately, discreetly accessing the sewer system through an alley several blocks removed from Eden Corliss's office building that you know is close to the sewer rat's domain. You look up at the grime-encrusted ceiling as you descend the ladder, managing to spot one of the tiny, well-disguised cameras the Nosferatu utilize to track guests, both welcome and unwelcome. You have little doubt that it has already scanned you and verified your identity. The security precautions bring up a question you're surprised Corliss hadn't addressed. If Arundel had disappeared through the sewers, wouldn't there have been record of him passing through? As Senathal, she should have easily looked up records from the last few weeks. Or does the prince have his own personal ways of entering and exiting the subterranean labyrinth that no one else knows about? You step off the ladder immediately and regret it, pulling your pant legs above your ankles. It's sopping wet with who knows what filth. You wondered just how the sewer rats managed to make their way in such a repulsive domain as your eyes adjust to the dimly lit corridor beneath your city. You groan. There it is behind you. The ledge your foot missed the first time, providing a walkway above the constant stream of sludge. You step backwards gingerly, managing to avoid a second brush with human waste. When Corliss had presented our options for investigation to you, speaking to Bouchard had seemed like the best choice to procure useful information. But the longer you spend here, the more you're beginning to regret that decision. You square your jaw and strengthen your resolve as you stroll with what you hope appears to be casual indifference through the muck-covered halls. There's no telling how many hidden pairs of eyes must be watching you from the dark at any given moment. You make several embarrassing wrong turns on the way to Bouchard's lair. The hidden signs scrawled on the walls of each intersection are partially obscured by years of entropy. When you finally reach the entryway to the hidden chamber, you just catch sight of a retreating pair of legs attached to the squat body of a goblin-like creature receding into the darkness in the other direction. You could swear that you've seen the vampire before. A relatively young neonate, but you can't seem to recall his name. No matter. You're not here for him. Bouchard's lair stands in a stark contrast to the sewer system just outside the front doors. If you hadn't known it was below ground, adjacent to literal rivers of human filth, you would have laughed at the mere suggestion. Walls of richly carved mahogany span upward to an elaborate ceiling at least 25 feet high, lit by dozen rows of tastefully recessed modern light fixtures. The smell of wood and oil permeates the room. The oil scent brings your attention to a rack of melee weapons of all kinds. Swords, axes, and halberds gleam, each well-loved and polished, shining brightly along keen edges. You have little doubt that each and every one of the museum-quality pieces is as deadly as it is exquisite. You clear your throat, unsure how to signify your arrival. Bouchard does not appear, but you think it's best to wait here. Delving any deeper into the underground suite could be met with accusations of snooping. You browse the room slowly, waiting for the elder to arrive. A stately wooden desk sits in the dead center of the room, a large map curled open along its length, held down on each by a leather bound historical text. A quick glance reveals it is a detailed map of the sewers and tunnels beneath nearby Gatineau. You shake your head. It's an odd thing for the elder to be studying. After all, no Nosferatu is more familiar with the depths beneath Ottawa. Perhaps Bouchard seeks to expand his influence. It seems like Prince Arundel would be hesitant to approve. You look up from the map and walk slowly to the far wall, hands clasped behind your back. It wouldn't do to be caught poring over the Primogen's papers, paintings depicting historical scenes from the area hang on the near rear wall. If you had to guess, you had to say they were originals, well over 100 years old. Beautiful, are they not? A gurgling voice calls out from the entry door as Bouchard slinks into the chamber. That one's an original John Elliot Wolford, he says with a crooked grin, clearly expecting you to recognize the name. His pockmarked face crumbles into a frown as he settles into a luxurious office chair behind his desk. Sometimes I forget you're not even a century old, Silas. Regardless, welcome to my humble domain. What is it that I can do for you? It's not often that I venture trek down into the depths. I do hope you find your way here without difficulty. He smiles, a mouthful of jagged, dagger-like teeth. Those maps on your desk are quite in depth. Is something happening beneath Gatineau? I assume you've heard the rumors regarding the prince by now. I get right to the point and explain why I'm here. Thank you very much for the kind welcome. I guess I have a few questions to relay from the Seneschal. I have inside information on Eden Corliss that you might find useful, and I'm willing to exchange it for information you have of equal value. So, we're supposed to be nice about it. We're supposed to be nice about it. Let's thank him for the welcome. Then explain why we're down in the first place. Better than stating the maps. It's better than stating a rumor. And it's better than stating very much a point you want to twist. So we'll just go with thank you very much for your kind welcome. The other's mouth splits unnaturally wide in a mocking smile. By all means, Silas, by all means. He gestures towards a single long-tipped bat-like ear. I'm all ears. Then I'll get right to the point, you say, keeping it all business. Seneschal Corliss requests any information you may be able to provide concerning unusual goings-on with your domain. Bouchard arches an eyebrow, such as... Keep it vague. He doesn't need to know that Arundel is actually missing, and I'll ask if he's heard the rumors. At this point, he's just trying to get information, so just give him something that we believe would be a possibility, but always have the ability to back out of it. What rumors would those be? Bouchard asked blankly. His asymmetrical features give him an excellent poker face. Speak your mind or leave the way you came in. No weasel words. Some kindred claim the prince has left the city, you reply. Interesting, Bouchard says, clasping his hands in front of him. I hadn't heard. And what would this information have to do with me? I'm not in the business of starting rumors, Silas. You can tell your seneschal that. You groan inwardly. This isn't getting off to a good start. I'm not here to lay blame. In truth, we are attempting to track Arundel down, and we would like your assistance. So, Bouchard grunts. It's true then. This won't do. He shakes his head. This won't do at all. And if Corliss is coming to me for information, that means she's got nothing. Either that, or. He trails off. I squinted as though deep in thought. She's already told me that she's concerned other elders may come for her. If she sent me to you, that means she views you as an ally. Pensive seed of sedition in Bouchard's mind. Either that or she only wants us to think she doesn't know where he is. Well, we don't want him to continue that prompt. We don't. We can lie. That wouldn't be a big thing. We can lie, make it a good lie, or we can lie and make it a lie that's more believable. Yeah. Let's see if he'll buy me viewing him like the seneschal viewing him as an ally. Bouchard leans back in his chair, his craggy face betraying surprise at last. Interesting that Eden chose you for this mission, Silas. Your eagerness reveals more than you know, but I'll be damned if such raw sentiment isn't appreciated after all the cloak and daggers nonsense going on elsewhere. The elder pulls open a desk drawer and procures a stack of handwritten papers. These are reports from all over my domain for the last month. Anything older than that is filed away. It's all on paper, you ask? Bouchard nods. Never trusted those damn computers. And since the mortals started breaking down kindred doors and tracking us online, I'm all for a return to the analog way of doing things. It's good and proper. He sifts through the paper, muttering to himself. No sightings of Arundel here, but I think there's a page missing. That's odd. He seems genuinely puzzled. I'm usually so good about keeping things in check. You know what? I was wrong. Everything seems to be in order. He's clearly lying about the missing page, but do you really want to press the issue? So no one's seen anything unusual at all. That missing page is concerning Bouchard. Send one to Corliss when it's located. Don't want to put excess pressure. I will allow time. I will allow time, but I will not allow nothing. I want something, but I will give him time. That missing page is concerning, Bouchard. You should send word to Corliss when it's located. Obviously, I misspoke, Bouchard says, eyes narrowing. Everything seems to be in order here. He shovels his paperwork back in the drawer. There have been 2 unusual sightings in the last week. The Anarchs have been spotted twice, but that shouldn't be a surprise after last night. But the Tremere, you repeat, your interest peaked. Yeah, one of my boys saw the whole mess of them crawling through the muck beneath Parliament Hill. There's not really any rule against it, but the prince made it clear that he wasn't keen on anyone using those tunnels. I sent Thompson up with a report for Arundel, but he told me that the prince wasn't receiving visitors. Can't say I didn't try to let him know. Still, I don't think it was a huge deal. What would Tremere be doing if they weren't poking their noses into old piles of shit? It's what they do. Anyway, that's about it. The one that saw them didn't get names, and he's not really good with faces. Okay, we can follow up with that at least. It's not anything on the prince, and I'm not going to push him for it. If I have to come back down later for it, I'll come back down later for it. Bouchard frowns. Manner of dress, stench of blood magic. Is my word not good enough for you? It just struck me as odd, that's all. Well, remove the thought from your head. I wouldn't claim something like that without being sure it was them. I think that's all I have for you. The other stands up behind his desk. I should make sure you get back to the surface safely. It seems somewhat abrupt, but it looks like your meeting is at its conclusion. No need, you reply with a respectful nod. I can find my way. You approach the front door and pull it open. The stench of the sewers hits you like a wall of bricks. Silas, Bouchard calls from behind you. Do give my regards to your sire. Eden is welcome in my domain anytime. And following that conversation, we're going to end it here. Thank you all for being back. And I will be putting out a video on the trailer that we got for Bloodlines 2 soon. I do hope you all are excited about it as I am. I know finally getting a trailer for Fabian as well is really, really amazing. And understanding how both will play will be really, really cool to figure out in those videos. So thank you all for joining me this night, and I hope you have a very good day, night, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you may be in the world. I do hope you come back soon.